Hi, Cassie. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I felt like such an announcer when I said that. Welcome back to the show. I was just saying before I started recording, so many people, like all the time in the comments, are like, we need a Cassie and Krista collab. They just loved seeing you on the episode. And so it's always fun to connect. And I feel like we had a great time hanging out last time.
Yes, we did. And I feel like we have similar audiences, so people are like rooting for us to do a collab. And I'm like, here we are.
Yes, here it is. I know. So I was like, you know what? We gotta have you come back on and like talk some more wedding stuff because your story last time still, it was funny. It was one of those where like I always like listen them back through, obviously, before they go out. And I was still like cracking up. And I had my husband listen and he was like dying at the story. He's like, that's not where I thought the story was gonna go.
No, it was a heartwarming but unexpected grandma.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, for anyone that has not listened to the other episode with Cassie, please go back and listen to that one. That was episode 10. It's a good one for sure. So before we get into it, can you just reintroduce yourself for anyone that didn't hear the last episode or just doesn't know about you yet?
Yeah. My name's Cassie. Most of the internet knows me as Wedding Pro Cass. I've been in the industry for about 12 years now, doing all things wedding. I've worked in probably every capacity of a wedding, from venue side to planning to luxury catering. So I got to see a lot behind the scenes and helped couples plan in all different cultures and budget levels, which is amazing. Currently, I'm the director of events at the History Center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I own a mobile bar, Clink 92, that serves weddings in Ohio and Pennsylvania. And then I also do personal planning, where I have clients all over the world planning their weddings. And then I assist them virtually as well with virtual support, one-on-one consultation. So I live, eat, breathe weddings.
Yeah, you are busy. I'm like tired just hearing all of that. Gosh.
Whew.
So, and last time we talked too, you were writing some children's books too. What's the update on that?
Yes. So they have been written, they have been illustrated, and I'm just figuring out how I want to launch them. I mean, you're in a book launch as well, so the process is fun and you have to navigate like the ups and downs. To me, I just want to make sure when I bring it forward and I launch it that it's exactly what I want. So I've asked my nieces to illustrate some of the book, so kind of getting those parts in with the other illustrator I work with, it will all come together. And I'm hoping June is when these will be out and ready to go. But I'll definitely share more once I know.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. I was just telling my husband about that too, because I was like, that is such a cool book idea too. Because I feel like when we were asking our nieces and nephews to be in the wedding, like there was some stuff out there, but I love the idea of a book. And that's such a cute way, especially encouraging them to read. And like, and I feel like there's just, it's a good memento too.
Yes. And I think it's the mom in me. I have a 3-year-old, so he's always reading books. And to me, I'm like, I definitely want to write a children's book. It's always been on my bucket list. So why not combine something I'm passionate with, the children's book? And it's special because one of my nieces that's drawing for the book was my flower girl.
Oh,
So I'm like, it kind of is like a full circle moment, since it's about asking your flower girl ring bearer, your little people, to be in your wedding.
yeah. I love it. Oh my gosh. She's gonna like remember that forever that she was an artist in a book. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I love that. Let's get into the beginning of crazy stories and hot takes. I know we talked about you shared a really heartwarming and surprising story last time. So, what story do you have for us today?
I'm going to share a story about one of the most cringe-worthy moments I've seen at a wedding, and it deals with a DJ.
Oh, God.
So it's kind of a long-winded story, but I'll try to get through it quickly. I'm going to dive right in. So this was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years into my career. I've always been like an over communicator when it comes to working with vendors, especially when you work on the venue side. So before the wedding day, I had reached out to this DJ 1 month out and then 7 days out. And the DJ was so communicative, like a surprise. Sometimes vendors are so busy they don't get back to you, but this vendor was great. No red flags. He's responding to my emails. He's asking great questions. So the day of the wedding comes, he shows up on time, green flags all over. I'm like, this day's going to be great. This DJ, I'd never worked with him before. However, he's been great so far. So I had no worries at all. Once he was settled, I go over and I always like to go through one more time the timeline, because sometimes couples in their last week make a slight change that they may not have relayed to me. Like, oh, we're actually going to do the mother son dance before the father daughter dance.
Mm.
And so they may have told their DJ that, but maybe they didn't tell me that. So I go over to the DJ and I'm like, hey, Mr. DJ, this is my timeline. I just want to make sure that yours looks exactly the same and there hasn't been any changes. He's like, 100%, we're on the same page. I'm like, this is great. I then go over all the key songs. So I'm going over the processional music, the recessional songs, and then their key songs for like first dance, mother son, father daughter. And we have everything the same. It's matching up. He has it on his computer. We're good to go. Ceremony happens, great. Cocktail hour happens, fabulous. And then it's time for the reception. And my couple had chose to have the wedding party come out as a group, and then they were going to be announced and then move right into their first dance.
Mhm.
So that transition, not that it's super quick, but it happens and then moves right into the first dance. DJ checks in with them and we start the introduction process. Wedding party comes out, they get announced, and they move onto the dance floor for their first dance. So everybody's like up cheering, looking at them, and they're walking to the middle of the floor, like ready to transition. And the music fades out and then nothing goes on. It's just like dead silent.
Oh no.
And I'm like across the room. So if the DJ booth is directly across from me and the dance floor is in the center. So I'm like looking at the DJ and I'm like, hey, first dance, wording it to him. And he's looking at me, just staring at me, like with his hands. I'm like, what? And I was like, then first dance, we're doing the first dance. And he sees me. So I didn't want to cut straight across the dance floor. So I start like walking around the tables on the backside and he goes the opposite direction.
Like
So
avoiding
now, yes. And it's like now been like 20 seconds, 30 seconds of awkward silence. And like people are laughing and the couple's just kind of standing there. Instead of me just going over and being like, hey, we're doing the first dance. We went over the order. You had the song. He walks out onto the dance floor directly to the couple. This is in front of all of their guests. And he goes, it's first dance, right? And they both were like, yeah. And then he's like, what's the song? And
Mhm.
they say the song. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a Michael Bublé song.
Yeah.
And then like goes back nonchalant, like nothing happened, and goes, okay, everybody, we're gonna move into the first dance, and then puts the song on. And I was like, that I wanted to crawl under a rock and die. I'm like, you prepare, you prompt them, you make sure everything's good, and then for the DJ then to like, I don't know what happened. He had like a blip in his brain and just
Yeah.
forgot what he was doing. But it was so cringeworthy. And then later in the day, when they're doing the cake cutting, he did one of my least favorite things in the whole entire world when a DJ is like super talkative on
Mhm.
the microphone and he started narrating the cake cutting. He was like, okay, everybody, they have the cake cutting set. All right, they're slicing the cake. Now they're pulling the cake out. Are they going to slam the cake in each other's faces? And like everyone was just like, this is terrible. So
Oh.
yeah, it was two cringeworthy moments from the same DJ. Immediately after that wedding, I put him on like the do not book list. And I did send him an email being like, hey, do you want to talk about what happened? And he literally was just like, yeah, I just like forgot the timeline. I don't know. It was just so cringeworthy. And
'Cause didn't
like,
he have it in
I
front
felt
of him?
bad for the couple.
Yeah, didn't he have it like right in front of him?
He had it. I saw it on his piece of paper. He had a copy of my paper. We went over it and he still didn't do it. And I'm like, I felt bad for the couple, just like they were kind of robbed of that blissful moment when you like walk in and everybody's cheering and then you go right into your first dance. It was interrupted by him shuffling out on the dance floor, asking them. I don't know. It was so strange. I never worked with that DJ again.
Yeah, and weird to
0
like
out of 10.
you when you're trying to like walk over by him. You're trying to make it like smooth, and he's just like, "Yep, I'm gonna go the other way."
I was baffled. It was just one of those moments that I'll remember for my whole life. Like I'm so weary sometimes of DJs because of that one experience, even though I know there's amazing professional DJs out there, but like
Yeah.
every time I get this like sinking feeling like, gosh,
Yeah.
I hope they know what they're doing.
Probably because yeah, you never saw that coming. Like everything looked
No,
till that point, and so then all of a sudden you're like, "Are they gonna surprise me with a random?"
right. Like I could understand if there were red flags, like he wasn't communicating, he wasn't answering emails, but like nothing. It was just that moment. And I'm like, that was so strange and also just kind of sad. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish I could rewind time, but I can't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I heard a story not that long ago, and I can't remember if it was the DJ or what, but they forgot to turn the music on while she was walking down the aisle. And she said she was already very like uncomfortable with all eyes on her. So imagine just like a silent room then.
Wait, I could give you a second story on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So this story also deals with music not going on the aisle. I will never forget this. This was like pretty recent, not pretty recent, but like within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
We had this happen where we call them ghosts. Like sometimes in old buildings, things happen and you're just like, what? We had the song playing, like the team was playing the music. I
Yeah.
was cueing the couple. I heard the song start. So I said to the bride, okay, go ahead and walk down the aisle. I walked around the backside so that I could like come in the other way to see the ceremony. And by the time I had walked around, the music had stopped. And I was like, where's the music? So I go over to the DJ. I was like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, everything just went black. The system just went down. You couldn't access, they had provided a Spotify list. You
Yeah.
couldn't access the page. Like what they had provided was just black.
Oh
And
my,
the bride, they had, luckily, this was like a COVID celebration. So they'd been married for 2 years and they did already have like a wedding. So this was like a wedding with their family and friends. She literally was at the end of the aisle and she's like, F it. Everybody clap for me. And she walked down the aisle and everybody was like cheering for her. But it was another one of those moments that you're like, there was no stopping it. Like the music was on and then the equipment just like
there's
went off.
nothing they could have done. Oh my,
No. And luckily that bride specifically was just the most chill, fun, and like she was laughing and smiling. So it was okay. But
yeah.
I would have freaked out,
Oh
I
my
think.
gosh. Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to someone how like I remember my makeup artist saying to me the morning of my wedding, she's like, "You're so relaxed for a bride." And I was kind of like, well, at this point, like everyone's here. Whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens. It's no big deal. But thinking about music not starting while walking down the aisle or like a big moment, I feel like I would be in my head. I think I would on the outside be fine. I wouldn't do anything like crazy, but I would be like, oh my God, thinking
Yeah.
everything. Like, I don't know.
And there's a lot of emotion tied to songs. So like if you picked a special song
Yes.
to play and then it's not playing, like that can tweak the way that you're feeling in that moment. So I totally feel that.
Yeah. Or playing like a different version of a song. Cause like we were trying to be so specific with different songs. We did a rock version of a very like classic love song. And then we did the Avenged Sevenfold version for like
Ooh.
when grandparents were walking down and it just to be like a little different. And it was awesome. But I'm like, if it was the different version, like I feel like that would have completely like changed how it would have been. But yeah, I have to be specific. Oh my gosh. Cringy, cringy.
I know.
Um, okay, let's go into some wedding hot takes.
Ooh,
So
yay.
this is just getting your opinion on some hot takes people have that they submit to me. Is it okay to ask for money instead of gifts, or does it come off as greedy?
So I think there is a more tasteful way to ask for a monetary gift. I think it is definitely tacky if you're saying like cash only. We only want cash. I have seen people do that. I have heard stories where you're like, ooh, and people are going to gift kind of whatever they'd like. So I think there's a tasteful way to ask it if you are looking for monetary gifts. However, I do kind of agree it is a little greedy and a little tacky to be like forcing that because a gift for a wedding is not mandatory and then to like be demanding a certain type of gift, I
Yeah.
also think is it's not my style. I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I've been to some weddings, and actually the ones that I think asked this were like over COVID, so they weren't doing showers or anything. And so like instead of that, like they did an announcement and they were like, "Oh, just send cash if you want to send a gift," because they weren't doing like any kind of in-person thing. So I got that, but for me, I'm never gonna bring a wrapped gift to a wedding. That's just
Me
not
neither.
it's not my style. I think
No.
even our own wedding, I think only a few people actually did that. But yeah, to me, I would never just be like, only give me the cash. Like that
Yeah.
feels weird.
Well, and I feel like there's just so many creative ways now. Like there's the honeymoon fund, or you could buy somebody an experience, or you could build out those experiences for your honeymoon, which literally it does just send you cash, but it will be like, help us pay for a wine dinner, help us pay for this excursion. That is a more tasteful way than to
Yeah.
just be like, if you want to give us a gift, give us cash. I get it. People nowadays live together. They already have a lot of the things that you would gift, but
Mhm.
you don't have to force the cash onto people and just let them give what they feel comfortable with.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work out, you can return it and get the cash for it, but
Right.
something else out. Don't make a big, yeah, stink about it. Yeah, I had some people like comment one time about, I was talking about the honeymoon, how it's like you can gift for like a honeymoon, whatever that program is. And they were like, I'm not funding someone's honeymoon. And I was like, well, if you're giving a gift at a wedding, you don't know how they're going to use that money, whether they use it for new
Right.
bed sheets or a drink at the bar, you're not going to know. So if you just want to like give a gift, you have to know that that's their choice how they want to spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Should couples have to invite all their family members, even the ones they barely talk to?
No. Straight up, no.
We agree there. Yeah. I feel like that's such an odd thing, but it happens all the time.
A ton of people feel the pressure from like parents mainly, I feel like, to invite the second cousin, invite the third cousin. Oh, I went to their daughter's wedding, so we have to extend an invite. And I feel like if it doesn't fit in the budget or it's not a priority for those people to be there, there's no reason you should be inviting them.
Mm-hmm.
specifically if you've never met them before. Like a lot of people are like, I don't want to introduce myself to someone for the very first time on my wedding day.
Yeah.
Why would I waste my time doing that? Not that I don't want to meet those people, but I don't know. The wedding day is about you and your partner and celebrating the love together. So a lot of people want people they know and support them and know them as a couple to celebrate their day with them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I don't get the like, oh, I have to invite my great aunt's second cousin once removed. And you're like, what's their name? And you're like, why? Just so they can
Yeah.
like get dressed up for a few hours and hang out with someone they barely know. I don't know.
Also, weddings are so expensive. I'm like, to
Yeah.
add 5 to 8 random people that even if they're related onto the guest list could be like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if people think about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Not
think
a fan.
so. Well, I think too, like that generation, like weddings have changed so much since then.
Yes.
I remember some people commenting saying like, "Oh yeah, we just got married in our parents' or the church basement and like it was free and we had just had sheet cake and that's all well and good." And some people still do that. And I think that's great, but just realize that every wedding is different and their budgets are different and timelines and all that stuff.
Agreed.
Oh my gosh. Hey, drama lovers, you asked and it's finally happening. My brand new book, Here Comes the Drama, A Ferris and Sloane Story, is now available for pre-order. It's the story of the couple everyone fell in love with online, Ferris and Sloane, caught in the middle of family feuds, broken boundaries, and yes, Kate barging in when she definitely wasn't invited. And here's the best part. If you're on my email list, you get part 1 completely free to read right now. Just click the link in the show notes to sign up and dive in today. The full book launches June 12th, and trust me, you're not ready for what's coming next. Okay, let's jump into this week's story submission. So as always, feel free to stop me or I'll kind of make pause.
Yay.
We can just react to this story. Let's see what happens. Okay, me, 24 female, and my fiance, 24 male, were set to get married in late summer. We've been engaged for a couple of years and planning our wedding ever since. I've always dreamed of eloping in another country, and my parents generously offered to cover the elopement since it would be cheaper than a full wedding here in the US. All right.
That's nice.
Very
Thank you.
nice. We made the decision to go that route and shared it with my fiance's family. We told them they could attend if they covered their own travel or we'd live stream the ceremony. His parents immediately pushed back. His mom refused to fly due to fear and not wanting to pay for a plane ticket. His dad didn't want to skip a vacation with his parents
Oh,
because spending money on our wedding would cut into his travel funds.
oh Lord.
Okay, well, here we learn about priorities. Like,
Yep.
we got tired of the back and forth and went back to my family. They kindly agreed to help us fund a stateside wedding instead. So they're still
Wow.
changing their plans.
And also, these parents, this set of parents seems super friendly and supportive.
Yeah. And they're just like, whatever you want,
Sure.
got that for you. Oh, here we go. On the
Uh-oh.
condition that my
Spoke too
fiance
soon.
that my fiance's parents would cover the honeymoon. Oh, that's like
Oh,
unheard of. To a
interesting.
destination where we would originally eloped. See, that's where I'm kind of like, oh, now you're putting expectations on the other parents when
Right.
I don't think it's a parent's duty to pay for a honeymoon at all.
No. Mm-mm.
So that's kind of weird to me. It says his parents agreed. I,
Wow. Okay.
okay. Something tells me they're not going to actually agree.
I was gonna say it doesn't seem right because they didn't want to pay to attend the ceremony, but they'll pay for their honeymoon, which I'm like, it probably would equate to the same.
Yeah, and then they're not even going to the honeymoon, so they're paying for a vacation for someone else, as opposed to if they paid for the elopement, they would be there with them.
Yeah.
So
All right,
something's
let's
not adding up.
something is not right.
My family put down a deposit on the venue. A year later, I asked my fiance if the honeymoon had been booked. He said no. Again, maybe it's, and you might agree with me because you're a planner too. The planner type A me would never put that in the hands of someone else. I'm
No.
booking that myself.
Right. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, I'm booking the place, I'm picking the flights, I'm not leaving it up to someone else.
No. No, so many of these I'm like, oh my gosh, you trusted that person for that long? Oh my gosh, I'd be like freaking out. He said no. A month later, after that, he told me it was. Okay. Fast forward to this April, I found out that my fiance had paid for most of the honeymoon himself, at least 80% of it through monthly payments.
Oh. He's covering for his parents. That's kind of like I think it's sweet on his part, but also like, what the heck with the parents that said they would pay for it?
Yeah. Like this whole thing's kind of weird to me because it's like he felt he couldn't tell you that he was paying
Yeah.
for it until April. So I don't know when this started. And then the parents lied about wanting to help cover it. But I also think it's kind of interesting to have the parents pay for the honeymoon. Oh, that his parents were upset they were expected to pay at all. Then why didn't they communicate that?
They could have just said, no, we're not doing that. And then they would have eloped without them.
Exactly. So they're causing all these issues. Like they're changing their elopement to have a stateside wedding. And then they're like, oh, will you pay for the honeymoon? Yeah, we will. JK, we're not going to.
Psych.
I pressed my fiance for the truth, and he finally called his mom. She told him word for word, we're not doing this. You need to keep paying and keep lying to her about it. So they wanted it to look like they were paying for it.
Oh, I do feel bad for the groom in
Me
this
too.
situation because I'm like, he's probably trying to salvage the relationship between his partner and his parents, but his parents just, they could have just communicated that they were uncomfortable paying and then it would have been fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm like so confused by this too, because I feel like, and we don't know like their relationship or the relationship between the parents, but like I'm thinking about my own parents and my own in-laws. If my parents had to do this, they would never be like, well, only if his parents do this. Like they would never say that either.
No.
I feel like there's a weird communication between all parties involved here.
Yes.
But yeah, I really feel for the fiance because you can tell he's kind of put in the middle of the mom being
Mhm.
like, just pay for it and lie to her about it. Like, what? Don't
That's
lie.
ludicrous.
Don't do it. She says, I was devastated. I told him we should cancel the local wedding and just elope like we originally planned because this clearly wasn't about us anymore. He told his parents and they freaked out. Not because we were canceling, but because my parents would still be there, paying their own way, mind you, and they wouldn't be included now.
Oh, so this was about like a money comparison with the other set of parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if they just agreed to the original elopement plan and just paid their way to go, it'd be way less than paying for any of this, and they'd be a part of it.
I feel like this facade, whatever the groom's parents have, they used the stateside wedding as an excuse to look like they were participating, but in actuality, they were just gonna like get away scotch free.
Yes, and have the sun cover for them to make them look
Hmm.
good. They were paying for it. That is crazy. And I wonder, like, if they were going to help with anything else for the stateside wedding, if they're just going to be like, oh, the honeymoon, we're just going to take care of that and take care of it, quote unquote.
Yeah, but not really.
But not real. So then they agreed to cover the wedding, quote unquote, again, except not the food or the flights, just the hotel. Fine, we said, let's just get through it. About 40 days out, my parents reached out to my fiance, not about money, just logistics and decor, to see what his family wanted to contribute to. Oh, for the actual wedding, okay? His parents hadn't participated at all during the 2 years of planning. Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
They seem very like into just not being a part of things.
Mm-mm.
Even when we invited them to help pick out my dress or with the decor, did not want a part of it. My fiance sent an upbeat message to his dad asking what they wanted to help with. His dad lost it, said they weren't contributing a thing, and accused my family of starting a pissing contest.
Oh, Lord.
Here we go. They just don't want to look like they're not doing enough, but now it's a competition. They just would have gone with the original plan. It never would have been like this.
No.
My fiance went to their house to talk in person because half of the remaining payments were due the next day. While there, his mom screamed at him to get out and never come back. He called me angry and heartbroken and said maybe we should just cancel the wedding. This is really
Oh,
sad.
I know. This is making me sad for the couple.
Yeah. I just don't get why the parents wouldn't just be like, oh, we don't have the funds, or we would just rather not
Right.
just leave it at that. Unless there's something that we're not just playing devil's advocate. Like, unless there's something we're not hearing, like if there was a lot of pressure and they just felt like, or they
I
kept
feel
getting,
the same thing. It would have been easier for them to just communicate clearly early on. And
yeah,
then the other parents and the couple to then plan accordingly than to say, yeah, we're going to participate. And then last minute be like, actually, we're not.
yeah. And now
And then
there's,
getting mad.
and now it's just awkward. I feel like they're just making more of like a buffer between everybody.
Yeah.
It says, my parents who had already spent money on the venue were so understanding. They offered, without being asked, to pay for an elopement again. But if they already paid for the venue, so now they're just going back and forth if they want a venue or elopement.
Right.
Okay. My mom was incredibly kind to my fiance, apologized to him, and told him they weren't mad, just worried about us. They said they'd support us however they could. My fiance tried to talk to his parents. They refused and said, "This isn't you. This is her, and you need to get over it." This was the last straw, and he cut contact.
Yikes.
I feel like there's a lot of like hurt on both sides, and there's something missing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess things can explode like out of this, but I don't know. I feel like there's some detail about the parents that are like his parents that were like, why are they so angry?
I feel like their behavior's probably always been like this, and maybe the groom's used to it, and the bride and the other parents are seeing it for the first time. And
Yeah.
so it's like abrupt to us, but probably not if you actually know them.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, because I feel like when it comes to especially like planning events or a big thing like a wedding, personalities come out, right? And so like if her family is more like organized with planning, or maybe they have a little more finances to be able to help with it, then they might just get very like insecure or feel bad. And then it causes this other like, deep-rooted like anger or, some other emotions to come up.
Yeah.
A month has passed since we canceled the wedding. His mom still won't admit to anything. We have a full recording of her telling him to lie to me. His dad admitted everything, but said she's sad about losing her son. This is so sad.
She
And
caused it though. Like
yeah, I just mean
the
like it's
mother
so
of the
sad
group.
that
It
it's
is
like
sad.
it's like a sad story, I feel like, that he is like losing his parents, It's like to go through that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
especially when you're wedding planning. There's already a lot of emotions and it's stressful. And then to have that happen on top is like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and it's like she can't just open her eyes up a bit to see like, okay, it caused this. And if they
Yeah.
wanted to actually be there for her son and future wife, they can do that. It's just some communication. But I feel like some of that, I don't know, some personalities, like once they feel like they've been wronged, they can't see outside of it. And then it's just like, that's
I'm
it.
like narcissist.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. And then I feel like the husband, it's like he probably is in the middle now because he's like, she's so mad, she doesn't want to talk to him. And then he still wants to talk to his son, but it's like, that's a big deal. The dad said my fiance should just let it go. But this is a pattern. She does something, pretends it never happens, and expects everyone to go along with it. So there we go. So this is
Yep.
probably, you said, not the first time. They've probably done this their whole relationship, but the wedding was the icing on the cake for her, I bet.
Yep.
My fiance finally said enough is enough. The only time he's heard from her since was when she demanded to come and get a few boxes and threatened to drop off personal documents, including his birth certificate and social security card, on our doorstep when we weren't home.
What? She's going to the extremes here.
He's like, "You're no longer my son. I'm cutting contact completely." Like, what?
But people are this crazy. That's why, like, this story happened to someone. And I'm like, I just can't imagine.
And think of it down the line. If someone's like, "Oh, why doesn't your son talk to you?" It's like, "Oh, he got married." It's like, what? It's supposed to
Yeah.
be like an exciting and joyous time, and you couldn't communicate something, and so you decided to just be like bitter and cross your arms and be like, "Well, guess I don't have a son anymore." Like,
That's wild.
what? That is insane. She was going to drop off his birth certificate. 3 days later, she was on vacation and then called him like nothing had happened. "Hey, how's it going?"
Delulu.
Oh my gosh, how's wedding planning? How can I help? Like, what?
Something's not right there.
That would drive me insane. Some of these stories, I'm just like, how do people have relationships with someone like that? Because you probably are constantly thinking you're going crazy. You're like, wait, did I imagine that last conversation with that person? Like, am I going crazy? Says, it's bizarre, it's painful. We spent 2 years planning this wedding only to cancel it 6 weeks before the date. 6 weeks
No.
date? So that means
Yikes.
they probably paid a majority, had
Oh,
all
yeah.
would they have all the invitations and stuff out by that point?
Yeah, they would have sent invitations out. They would have had people RSVPing. Usually the 6 week mark is like RSVPs are due. So like imagine all the people that like were making arrangements to come to the wedding. I don't know how big it was going to be, but like still, they
Yeah.
probably had room blocks. They probably had all their vendors booked. Like, I don't know. That's devastating. To have to cancel when I understand canceling a wedding if the two people decide we're not getting married.
Right.
But to cancel a wedding because someone is being over dramatic and overbearing and like a narcissist, I think that's devastating and that's sad.
Yeah.
That couple had to do that.
Right. The last part ends with, "We'll be eloping in Italy. His
Yay!
parents are not invited." So I feel like if anything, this is a lesson to those listening that just go with your gut of what you want for your wedding. Because how many times
Yes.
you probably hear it all the time, and have to say it to people all the time is like block out all the extra noise because I feel like so many times when brides and grooms, like everyone else wants, they regret their wedding more because they don't do what actually is meaningful to them.
I always like to explain it to my couples. It's like you're driving a car and you have a destination where you want to go. And when you start letting every other person give their opinions, it's like you jump into the passenger seat and someone else is driving and they're doing their own thing. So you might end up like on the opposite side of the country
Mm.
because of what other people want. So I do think you do have to be selfish a little bit when you're wedding planning because it is your day. And so you need to like keep your priorities in mind and go with your gut feeling of like what you want in reason, of course,
Right.
but making sure other people don't sway you so drastically. Like they went from an elopement to a stateside wedding to canceling, then back to exactly what they planned, but had to wait so long for that moment
Yeah.
because of the mother of the groom.
Yeah, so many hurdles in the meantime. I love that analogy of driving because that's so true. It's like if you are constantly having people pull you different directions, you're gonna make all these pit stops that you didn't need to
Mm-hmm.
make. In the case of this couple, they just drove all the way around the country. Only
They
got
got on a
after
plane,
they
flew
started.
around.
Yeah, they finally kicked her out of the car because it sounds like from the beginning they knew what they wanted to do. And
Yes.
so if you are a couple that wants to elope, elope. If you're a couple that wants a small wedding, have a small wedding. If you want a big wedding, have a big wedding. Just black out the noise and just you and your partner are the main people that matter.
Yeah. And I do think it's really important. Like weddings are, they do include family. There is a lot of family dynamics in play. And I think if you are taking into consideration, especially heavy consideration, parents' wants, then like that conversation needs to happen very early on
Yeah.
so that everybody's on the same page and everybody is aware. And this, it kind of seemed like they made a decision with one set of the parents, they informed the other set of the parents, and like that's where it kind of went awry. And
Hmm.
so maybe if they would have had the conversation super early, not that I think it's okay what the mother of the groom did, but if both sets of parents were in the original conversation, they probably could have saved themselves some drama.
Yeah, and I feel like there's some people too, like this mom seems like she might have just been the victim no matter what. But yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I feel like there's some people where you have to like tiptoe in and be like, hey, make them feel like it was their idea or something. And then other people, it's like they have to know first. Like I read one story that was like because the bride told her parents first, and I think the bride's mom was talking to the groom's mom. She got so offended that they already planned this whole wedding without her, and they're like, no, they just booked the venue. That's it. So
Yeah.
like some people feel like something's been taken from them and it's like, oh my gosh, like still a whole wedding to plan.
Pump the brakes. Everybody can be included.
Yes. We'll be okay. It's fine. Oh my gosh, the number of times I hear of like just like the drama at weddings just like tearing families apart, but I always like to remind people too, and you might have your own perspective on this, but I feel like if a wedding is what pulled people apart, there was already something, like either something stewing or some red flags were already kind of showing.
I agree. I feel like if it comes to a head because of the wedding, then there's some sort of underlying situation that you've probably dealt with before and it just was brushed under the rug. It's just the wedding brings out the biggest emotions in so many people. And I don't know why, but it is sometimes make or break for some relationships.
Mhm.
And you just have to like move forward and realize you're seeing their true colors for a reason and for the good or the bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes like it brings people closer, sometimes it's the opposite and people are like I don't want to be friends with them anymore, I don't want to talk to them again. You see the extreme on both sides during the wedding planning process.
Yeah.
Not always, but sometimes.
But sometimes, yeah, yeah. Don't be fearful if you're listening and you're like, oh my God.
No.
It's like if there's already some kind of red flags or people that can't support, I don't know how to word it. People that can't allow others to shine or like
Yeah,
can't
like
like allow
they
their,
can't silently support, like they have to have some sort of opinion.
yeah, those are the
It's
people
hard for them.
they're gonna falter during that time. That's like you hear like
Yes.
when the bridesmaid does something or says something in her speech or because that's the friend that's been secretly like a little maybe a little jealous or just can't have the spotlight on somebody else. But
And also one-uppers, those are the other people that like have a
mm,
very difficult time during the wedding planning process because it becomes like a comparing game, like oh my daughter got married or
mm,
they got engaged, oh you have to get engaged. It becomes like a competition where I'm like why does it have to be a competition? You guys could both get married, you could do it at your own pace, you could have different types of weddings, but you do see that a lot as well.
yeah, life is so much better when you're not comparing yourself to every person for every little thing because you'll never win. And a competition
Right.
with everybody around you, you will just never win. Like because someone's always going to have the better this, the better that. And it's like, you just have to stick true to you, and that's when you'll be happiest.
Yeah. And I mean, that is like, I think it's a blessing and a curse, social media for weddings.
Mm.
Because I mean, on TikTok, you're seeing so much. You're seeing these beautiful weddings. Same thing with Pinterest. You see all these things. You're like, I have to have a wedding like that. When in actuality, the weddings that are like highlighted and shown are $300,000+ weddings. And I'm like, that's not an average wedding. So just like in general life, it's the same thing with weddings. People just like, they want what they see and they just crave that. And then at the end of the day, like their wedding doesn't look like that, or they can't include A, B, or C, and it causes issues.
Yeah.
Just do what you want within your budget.
And I
People
think
will have fun.
yeah, and I think one thing too with planning weddings is like if you're more excited about sharing your wedding photos on social media than the actual day, then that's a sign that we're doing things for maybe the wrong reason. I don't know, maybe that's a hot take.
100%. You are right. And there is people that do that. Like they
Mhm.
spend all their money so they can have these Instagrammable moments or they can create the TikTok. But I'm like, on my wedding day, all I remember is like having so much fun with my husband and like our friends and being on the dance floor. Like I don't ever remember once being like, oh, I have to make
Post
sure
it.
that like I get this to post. Like, I don't know. I feel like if that's how your day is, then like,
Yeah. I saw this is years ago, someone that I know from like a long time ago. On her wedding day, she posted one picture of herself and said, "Can't wait to see my friends."
oh Lord.
And I was
What
like,
about your
that's a
partner?
bad sign. And they got divorced. Like,
There we go.
that's it. I'm not saying that to judge, but I'm just like, think about like how you view your wedding day. And it's like, what are you most excited for? Like, yes, of course, you want to see your friends and celebrate. I don't mean that in a bad way, but aren't you excited for like marrying your person and having your first
Yeah.
dance? And it was just like, if you're just more excited about showing off and like posting it to social media and getting the likes, then that's not exactly I don't know,
Not the vibes.
not the vibes. Craving more wedding drama? Join my wedding party Patreon for Here Comes the Drama After Dark. Each month, we dive into juicy confessions, wedding 911 advice, and the spiciest hot takes. And of course, we always end with a wild wedding story reacting in real time. From bridesmaids to groomsmen, mother in law madness to photographer fails, every month has a new theme. Patreon members get early access to all regular episodes and an exclusive chat to discuss the drama. Don't just hear the drama, be a part of it. Join now. Okay, let's go into the next segment, which is weekly confessions. These are confessions that
Ooh.
people send me on Instagram, and we'll just react to them. We don't get as much detail here, so we kind of have to read between the lines a little bit. Okay, this first one says, my mother-in-law treats my son differently because he's an IVF baby. What?
What? What?
That's one, terrible. Two, like, what?
His own mom? You said it said mother-in-law, right? My
Yeah.
mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law treats my son differently. She
Oh,
ran.
hers a grandson. I thought it was like her husband.
Oh,
I was not understanding that at
like
first.
her
But
treats her son differently.
yeah, she treats her grandson
Her
differently.
grandson because he's IVF.
I'm sorry. People are crazy.
No matter like how you have that baby, it's your baby and they should love that baby just the same.
Yeah, even if it was like a foster baby or an adoption baby, like they're your baby, they're part of your family. Everybody should be the same. Same with stepkids. I cannot stand when people treat other children differently. They're children.
Yes. I just don't get that. I've heard of this happening before. Someone I just talked to said like I think it was like an in-law. I'll keep it very anonymous, but her in-law has a grandson, but it's a step grandson. So the way they treat that son as opposed to the other one is so different. And it's like, but you're still grandma to that.
Yeah.
You need to still be grandma. It's just, I don't get that.
I did a story on one of those and I was like baffled at the things I was reading because I'm like, they're just kids. They're just babies. They're your family. You got to love on them and that's it.
Yeah, they did nothing. Like if you have angst towards, a parent or an ex or something, it's like the kid did nothing to deserve that.
No.
Okay, next one is we hired security to keep certain uninvited people away from our wedding. Have you seen
Okay.
security at a lot of weddings?
So where I work, we have security. They don't do like security what you would imagine. They're
Okay.
not like checking a guest list. But yes, I have seen security at a wedding. Not all my weddings have actual security like that. But I think if you have a situation where you are no contact or there is a relationship where you think someone might arise and it's going to cause issues,
Mhm.
then save yourself the stress of thinking of them arriving and get security. It's not as common as people think, but it does happen.
Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah, I've had a lot of stories submitted to me where I shouldn't say a lot. Yeah, like you said, probably like 10%, 5%,
Yeah.
like really a small percentage. But where they're like, we had to call security or we had to have security on standby because so and so might show up. I think most of the time there's just there as precaution. I'm sure they don't have to
Mhm.
do anything, but occasionally I'm sure there's something.
We had one where we had like pictures. We all had pictures
If
of
you
what the
see this
person looked
person,
like. They didn't show up, but we were prepared
oh
if they
my,
were to show up. Like we were going to call the cops. So
whoa, you're like on guard, just waiting.
yeah, we were ready.
Oh my gosh. This last one says, me and the hubby almost eloped because of not wanting to be on display because we are shy.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I think for some people, like if you don't want to be the center of attention, then a wedding day, like a standard American celebration, might not be the right fit for you. And I feel like in that case, an elopement makes complete sense.
yeah, that can be very daunting of like all the eyes on you. If music doesn't play, that could be very, very,
Double the stress.
yeah. But it sounds like they didn't.
Got married.
So, hey, good for you. Do what makes sense for you. Hopefully, it wasn't through bullying of other people. Well, thank you so much for coming back on. That was so fun chatting and hanging out again. For anyone listening, can you tell them again where they can find you and then anything exciting that you're working on?
You can find me at Wedding Procast on all socials. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm working on a really cool YouTube series, which is Wedding Whisper. There's been like short clips of it on my TikTok and Instagram, but those will be like longer episodes of me interviewing real wedding vendors, particularly in the Pittsburgh area, just getting like hot takes and their best tips and tricks about kind of their category of vendor category at a wedding. So that's a big project I've been working on. I'm on a couple of podcasts coming up, which are all kind of wedding based, which will be fun. When I was just on the Tamron Hall show, which was a really cool experience. So you can see that. I think it's on Disney Plus or Hulu now, but
Oh,
it
awesome.
was released early April. So yeah. And then my books will be coming out and you can kind of find me online every day.
Yay, awesome. Well, sounds good. Well, thank you again for coming on. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.